Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? Our seminar is about to begin. Please have a nice seat. Thank you very much for preparing yourself to join our webinar. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, everyone. Respectable Mr. Takahashi Yuichi, Director General, the Japan Foundation, and Ms. Imai Chie from the Japan Foundation. Respectable Professor Stephen Halim, PhD, the National University of Singapore. The Honorable all audience of 2092 International Webinar to celebrate the National Education Day. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Enda Wijayanti, the moderator of today's webinar. I am accompanied by Mrs. Chitra Dewi Rahmasari as a translator. I am very pleased to see you here and welcome all of you to this webinar. Dear audience, there will be two topics will be presented by our speakers in this room. Our first speaker today is Ms. Imai Chie, the Japan Foundation language expert in Japan Foundation, Jakarta. And our second speaker is Professor Stephen Halim, the National University of Singapore. He will present the material online for Singapore. Ms. Imai Chie will present the material directly from this room. Before the presentation begins, let me inform how the presentation will be going on. First, our keynote speaker will be invited to present the material, and at the end, our translator will translate the presentation into Bahasa in a brief way. After that, there will be question and answer session. The participant may ask questions both in English or Bahasa. Our translator will help you to translate into English. For the first session, let us welcome Ms. Imai Chie. Imai Chie, born in 1988. Education, Bachelor of Liberal Arts, GF Oberlin University, Tokyo. Major in teaching Japanese as a second language. Major a second language. Master of Education, Yokohama National University. Work and teaching experience, Japanese language teacher for high school and junior high school, Saint Mongol School in Mongolia. Head of Center for Career Development in Saint Mongol Academy in Mongolia. Japanese Language School in Japan and Mongolia. Teaching assistant for Japanese Language University of Iceland. Japanese language expert in Japan Foundation, Jakarta. Now, allow me to welcome the speaker, Ms. Imai Chie, to deliver her presentation.
So good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for inviting us to this seminar, and thank you for joining this room today. My name is Chie Imai, and I'm from the Japan Foundation, Jakarta. Today, I would like to talk about how we collaborate to character buildings for high school students through Japanese language education. This is my content today. My talk would be 20 to 25 minutes. Okay. This is today's aim of this presentation. At the end of this presentation, I hope you understand a little bit about an example of opportunity to building characters for high school students in Japanese language education. Number 2, an example of growing teachers to do character building in their classes or workshops. Number 3, an example plan for spreading character building through Japanese language education in Indonesia. I hope you understand a little bit of these 3. Okay, now let's go into the topic. Today, I would like to introduce a little bit about workshop called Japanese Speakers Forum. So, what is Japanese Speakers Forum? Japanese Speakers Forum is a series of workshops started in 2013. And 6 countries in Asia are attending JSF, Japanese Speakers Forum. And what actually we do is we do the workshops. So we open workshops in each individual country. And once a year, there's an international workshop held in one of these countries. And who attend JSF? So participants of JSF would be students, high school students who study Japanese in their own country, or high school teachers who teach Japanese in their own country. So teachers would be either participants or observer. And there's a facilitator. Facilitator would be a high school teacher, same, teaching Japanese in their country, and also teachers in Japan Foundation, like me, would be a facilitator. Facilitator do facilitate within a group of workshop, or in some cases, we create workshop together as a facilitator. And the organizer of the JSS would be a Kamenori Foundation and the Japan Foundation. So these 2 foundations are collaborating to create JSF. Kamenori Foundation here is a foundation in Japan and interested in supporting Japanese language education in Asia. And the Japan Foundation, we are a governmental organization who supports Japanese language education all over the world. And there are many overseas offices. In Jakarta, we have office at Senayan area. So we give each resources and work together to create JSF. So what is Japanese speaker in JSF? Japanese speaker is literally someone who speaks Japanese, either native or non-native. But we are more focusing on connecting students and teachers. As I said, students who study Japanese, teachers who teach Japanese in Asia with Japanese language. So we are more thinking to connecting people rather than Japanese language itself. And we think that Japanese language is just one way of communication. So we are not thinking improving Japanese language that much. And so in the workshop, we use Japanese partially, so part of it. So to communicate, we use gestures or English or some other language to understand each other. In this way, we can grow students and teachers' ability and personality through foreign language education. So, what is the JSF workshop is like? Okay, I brought some photos from former JSF workshops in Indonesia and also in Japan. It was an international workshop. Usually, participants become a group of 5 or 6 and work with tasks or assignments or activities. And working with other people may understand each other and work with people from different backgrounds, grow a globally minded person. These two keywords are connected to character building. And as I said, at JSF, teachers participate as a participant or facilitators. Why? We think experiencing workshop is important. In JSF, we use student-centered learning or 21st century skills during the workshop. So if teacher participate JSF workshop, they can understand how we can include these skills during the workshop. And for the facilitators, they can try facilitate, and they can also work with other teachers other than their classes or schools. So that's a very special part of JSF. And I hope you understood a little bit about JSF. Okay, now I'm going to introduce a little bit about JSF in Indonesia. Okay, I made a small table about JSF Indonesia, and this is the workshop that we opened. And we opened 9 workshops in 8 years. And in total, 159 students and 84 teachers and 22 facilitators were attended. And other than this, JSF Indonesia, we opened the international workshop in 2018, same in Bali. So teachers and students from other 5 countries, as I said, came to Bali and get together in Bali. And I would like to also introduce the theme or topic of JSF Indonesia. The topic of JSF Indonesia is usually decided on from this workshop International. So from the international workshop, each year has a different topic. Based on that, we choose the topic. And former topic was hometown or disaster or present. Based on this topic, we create activities such as field work, group discussion, experiencing something like experiencing local culture, or interviewing. At the end of the workshop, we ask students to create like acting dramas or presentation to conclude the workshop. Okay. Now I would like to talk about one example of JSF workshop during the pandemic period. During the pandemic period of 2020 and 2021, as you know, many workshops or events, conferences were canceled, and JSF was one of them. But luckily, we got the support from Kamenori Foundation and create JSF online in Indonesia. In online JSF in Indonesia, we created workshop activities with 5 former facilitator teachers in JSF, and there were 25 students all around Indonesia attended. And we also invite 5 guests, 5 Japanese speaker guests from all around the world, is actually in Asia. So 5 Japanese guests came from Japan, Vietnam, Thailand, Malaysia, and Mongolia. So they are also joined. The theme or topic of JSF Indonesia was pandemic でもできる we can do it during the pandemic period. And there was a 3-day workshop, once in 2 weeks, not 3 days weekend workshop, but once in 2 weeks.
Recording in progress.
Okay. And these are contents of JSF Online. I'm going to talk about a little bit detail about it. Okay, first content is pre-homework. So before the workshop, we asked the student to do this. And we asked students to write a small essay about what you can do and can't do while pandemic. And we also ask students to interview one another person in different region, same question, and write a small essay. An essay can be Japanese language or Indonesian language. The second content is ice breaking. Ice breaking is one of the important things in JSF. And we use ice breaking as getting to know each other or making good atmosphere or just refreshing. And this is one of the example of ice breaking, and it's a quiz with Japanese speaker. And this one is ice breaking with facial expression. That was also interesting. Okay, the third content is a main content, interviewing with Japanese speakers. And students become a group of 5 and thinking an interview question together, practicing Japanese language together, and also interviewed together with Japanese speaker guests. And they made a small presentation about the result of the interview. The fourth content is post-homework. We ask students to create a 3-minute video about opinion from attending JSF. And is there anything that you want to do, you want to try new thing during the pandemic period? And students created interesting videos in Japanese. The last content is reflection. Reflection is also important for JSF. We made reflection time end of each day and whole JSF. And we had group discussion, and we also asked students to write their reflection on Padlet. Padlet is an online tool, and students wrote their reflection in Japanese with photo on it. From these contents, we try to put skills, 21st century skills such as collaboration, critical thinking, teamwork, or IT skills. But it was a little bit difficult to put every skills visibly. For example, in this interview, you can learn collaboration in this way, and you can use this worksheet or something. So we can do it not visibly, because online workshops are a little bit different from offline workshop. So times are limited, and online activities are also limited compared to offline workshop. However, tough times bring opportunity. So we, not only organizer or facilitator, but also students could learn IT skills and how to organize, how to attend workshops. So we got some many experiences, and it is a good experience for post-COVID era, we hope. So now I would like to introduce a little bit about the questionnaire. We took a questionnaire at the end of homework, sorry, end of workshop, and there were many good answers about character building. So I want to introduce a little bit about it. I just take a small part about character building. So the first question was, please write any comments about JSF online. This is usually at the end of the questionnaire. So one student said she could collaborate and communicate with friends and teachers, and she became more confident. And as a student said, she became more confident and got more motivation to continue to develop her talents, although she was not confident with her Japanese language at first. So from these comments, we see that they found cooperating with new friends and communicate with new friends and new people foreign language, which is Japanese language. Okay, same question and different comment. And one student pointed out that JS forum were well organized and trained students' discipline. And other student also pointed out JSF was very interesting and scheduled and disciplined. So students found out JSF was disciplined. The next question, what is the most effective activity? One student says that I learned to respect other people's opinions or ideas, and she found new things. So she found respect to others, and also she found creativity. We see from these comments. Okay. The last one, this is the last comment from the same question. And she enjoyed process of learning, and she found out carrying out tasks ordered. And with her hard work, her presentation was good. So from her comments, curiosity and responsibilities and hard work that we see from these comments. So from the questionnaire, I just put the keywords here, every keyword here. And seeing these keywords, I was very surprised that students found these keywords by themselves. I didn't ask, did you get creativity or did you find discipline? No, they write these keywords by themselves. Although the questionnaire was in Indonesian, but we could see this. So if you look at these keywords, there are many keywords important for character building. So students were aware how they could improve themselves, not only Japanese language, but also their characters. So we see that JSF could be one of the opportunity to building their characters. So I want to continue. We want to continue this JSF. So I made some plans. This is not actually a plan, but we want to do this, okay. So we want to help opening small JSF in Indonesian region this year. We are expecting to open in East Java and Yogyakarta. And sometime soon, we would like to open JSF in Indonesia offline, not online, offline sometime soon. Maybe not this year, but sometime soon. So in this way, students and teachers who attend JSF will increase. So many students and teachers experience JSF. And especially for the teacher, they can organize JSF in each region or school, and they can apply the content or essence of JSF in everyday classes. So we hope that in this way, character building will spread out whole Indonesia by Japanese language education. Okay, so I hope you understand a little bit about JSF in Indonesia. Okay, I made a small conclusion for it. This is the aim of this presentation, if you remember or not. But the first thing, I hope you understood a little bit about the example of opportunity to building characters for high school students in Japanese language education. I think to building characters for high school students, various opportunities are needed, and Japanese language education and JSF could be one of them. Number two, example of growing teachers to do character building classes or workshop. I think it is important to experience workshop and concept of to grow teachers who can create character building opportunity. So experience as an observer or participant would be important. The last one, an example plan of spreading character building through Japanese language education in Indonesia. I hope the teacher who attended JSF will be create workshops and will open many small workshops all around Indonesia. And teachers also be able to use skills in everyday classes. So students also have opportunity to get character building opportunity. Okay, that's my conclusion. And some differences. And thank you very much for listening.
Thank you very much, Ms. Imai, for giving us such informative and interesting presentation. Okay, next, my friend Ms. Chitra will translate it.
Thank you. Bapak Ibu hadirin sekalian yang saya hormati, dari apa yang telah disampaikan oleh Miss Imai tadi, izinkan saya untuk menyampaikan sedikit rangkuman tentang contoh pendidikan karakter dalam pembelajaran bahasa Jepang khususnya yang dilaksanakan di Japan Foundation. Miss Imai tadi menekankan pentingnya pemberian kesempatan bagi para siswa untuk berkolaborasi dan berkomunikasi dengan sesama teman maupun pengajar untuk menggunakan bahasa yang sedang mereka pelajari. Kesempatan ini tidak hanya untuk siswa atau peserta didik, tetapi juga diberikan kepada tenaga pendidik atau guru agar mereka dapat terlibat dalam lokakarya atau workshop yang berbasis student-centered learning, di mana mereka bisa merasakan sendiri bagaimana melaksanakan pembelajaran berbasis kegiatan atau aktivitas pembelajaran yang menarik. Sehingga diharapkan nantinya para tenaga pendidik ini dapat menerapkannya di pembelajaran mereka sehari-hari. Demikian rangkumannya. Saya kembalikan ke Bu Endah.
Thank you, Mrs. Chitra. Ladies and gentlemen, now come to the question and answer session. I'd like to have 2 questions for the participant. Please. Okay. Could you hear, please?
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you for the time that has given to me. I'd like to ask you something. There are two questions. The first question is about Japan Foundation itself. Does Japan Foundation still have program to support any schools which teach Japanese to their students? That is my first question. So I'd like to repeat again. Does Japan Foundation still have program to support any school which teach Japanese to their students? And my second question is, it is about GSF. I'd like to ask you how to join GSF. Perhaps my students want to join, or my teachers want to join GSF. How to join this? Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Ibu Rukia, for the question. And the second question, okay.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello, Miss Imai. Thank you for introducing Japanese Speak Forum. So basically, this program is for teacher and student in high school, right? Yes. I'm a teacher in elementary school Bintaro 3. I found a lot of my students get interest with Japanese culture, with something like join karate, read manga, anime, or maybe they starting with learn speaking Japanese, I don't know. And even my students speak in Japanese with like watashi wa or sumimasen, something like that. But they are just kids in elementary school. They 9, 10, 12 years old. So the question is that possible to consider make a program for student in elementary school, basic with 9 to 12 years old student? Thank you.
Okay, thank you the question. Miss Imai, are you ready to answer them?
Could you ask the first question? What was the first question? I couldn't really get it.
Okay, the first question is about is Japan Foundation has program to support students in school, and the second one is how to join GSF. Yeah.
So I will answer the question briefly. The first question is there any helping opportunity for Japanese to high school student in Japanese language? And first of all, I, as myself, help teachers of high school how to teach Japanese or developing their Japanese language skills. So we happy to help teachers who teach Japanese language. And for the schools, we have program Nihongo Partners. We send one Japanese to their schools, and half a year they will do some Japanese culture. They introduce Japanese culture. So please check JF Jakarta SNS for more information. And second one, how to join JSF? I'm sorry that this year we limited to 2 regions, but hopefully next year or some near future, we can open JSF all around Indonesia. It also will be on the JF Jakarta SNS, so please check JF Jakarta SNS. And the third one, I don't know if I could get the question right, but if you want to study Japanese, there's online content and online platform in Japan Foundation, and it's called Minato. So please check Minato JF, and you can find a free online course for Japanese. I hope I could answer your question, and thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Miss Imai. And Mrs. Citra, can you translate in Indonesia?
For the second question, the teacher already given such opportunities by asking the students to join karate about the Japan culture. Is it considered as opportunities for them to learn Japan language?
Okay, how about the question? Once more. Once more. Okay. The last question for this session.
Terima kasih. My name is Rudy. I am from SMK 73 Jakarta Barat. Nama saya Rudy. Saya dari SMK 73 Jakarta Barat. Mohon dikoreksi jika bahasa Inggris saya salah. Karena teman-teman di sini yang hadir tidak semua bisa berbahasa Inggris, termasuk saya sendiri. What are GSF vision and mission in Indonesia? Apakah visi dan misi GSF di Indonesia? For the second, how can school work with GSF? How can schools work with GSF? Bagaimana caranya sekolah bisa kerjasama dengan GSF? Kemudian, and then, is it free or do we have to pay for GSF? Apakah gratis? Apakah kita harus bayar bekerja sama dengan GSF? Mungkin itu saja. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Okay, my sensei, can you answer the question? You can hold it.
What was the third question?
The first question is about what is GSF vision and mission in Indonesia. The second one, if we want to collaborate or to have a program with GSF, how can we contact GSF? And is it free to have a collaboration with GSF itself? The last question is it free or there is a fee for us if we want to have a program collaboration with GSF?
Okay, and thank you for asking question. And I'm answering the first question, mission and vision of JSF in Indonesia. I think it's same as the mission and vision of JSF. And as I said, so we want to connect students and teachers through Japanese language. So that's mission and vision. And in Indonesia, we want the teacher to experience the workshop. So teacher would be a participant. That's a very important part. And we think that's the mission of it. And the first question is, how can we collaborate with JSF? I don't know yet, so please contact us. We can work with in some way. And the third question was,
Is it free?
so topic of JSF in free? JSF, it depends on the which workshop or where to open, but JSF online was gratis. That's all. Thank you.
Baik, Bapak Ibu, izinkan saya untuk mengulang sedikit jawaban dari Miss Chi tadi, bahwa visi misi dari JSF di Indonesia adalah memberikan kesempatan untuk guru maupun peserta didik untuk belajar bahasa Jepang dengan berbagai kegiatan, berbagai kesempatan untuk terlibat dalam pembelajaran itu sendiri. Dan untuk berkolaborasi atau membuat program bersama JSF sendiri, Miss Chi mengatakan bisa menghubungi kontak center ya. Biaya tadi yang disebutkan, semuanya tergantung dari jenis lokakarya atau workshop yang akan diadakan. Tetapi untuk JSF online sendiri dikatakan oleh Miss Chi semuanya gratis, seperti itu.
Okay. Any question? Finally. Is that true for the question? For the answer, how about the answer? Okay, Imai Sensei. Thank you very much for this session, Imai Sensei. Domo arigatou gozaimashita. Baik, tadi sesi pertama bersama Imai Sensei dari The Japan Foundation. Kemudian sesi kedua nanti akan kita lihat online dari Singapura. Sebentar akan kita lihat apakah sudah masuk. Oke, untuk Imai Sensei kita beri aplaus dulu.
Halo. Hai. Ya.
Halo.
Halo dari Singapura, from Singapore.
Yes. Can you introduce yourself, please?
Hi, I'm Dr. Stephen Halim from National University of Singapore. Today I'm invited to give a talk about best practice in computer science education in Singapore and also worldwide. So I'm going to introduce a tool that I have been using for teaching my computer science classes in National University of Singapore. Saya ganti bahasa dulu ya. Saya juga orang Indonesia, saya bisa berbahasa Indonesia, tapi untuk presentasi kali ini saya akan menggunakan bahasa Inggris.
Okay.
Yeah. So, saya adalah I'm a project leader and the developer of visualgo.net. I will introduce this tool to you soon. And I'm a main author of a programming competition book called Competitive Programming, together with my brother Felix and my colleague Suhendri. And in university level, I organize NUS programming competition teams. And my day job in School of Computing is to teach data structures and algorithms in multiple levels using tools that I'm going to present to you soon, which is VisualGo. I'm going to introduce one. The next slide is about International Olympiad Informatics. So I want to introduce this slide because it's very relevant for this year, especially. So in the past 2 years, Singapore hosted International Olympiad Informatics. This is a programming competition, algorithm competition for high school students the best high school student from each country annually. In the past 2 years, we had to run this online. But this year is interesting because the next host is Indonesia itself. It will be hosted in Yogyakarta. So this picture in the middle is the flag handover ceremony conducted last year, 26 June 21. So we handed over the hosting rights from Singapore to Indonesia, represented by Ambassador Suryo Pratomo and Education and Culture Attaché Bu Veronica Enda Wulandari. Yeah, so now this year, Indonesia will be the one hosting in August. Okay, so that's a brief introduction about me. Okay, so I'm going to, in this talk, I'm going to introduce to you Visualgo, right? And if I'm the one saying this, probably many of you may not believe that I said it is number one algorithm education tool in the world at the moment. So I'm going to encourage each one of you, especially if you bring your smartphone. If you bring your smartphone, right? Try to Google the term algorithm visualization. Algorithm visualization. Yeah. So let's try Google the term algorithm visualization and click the first link that you see on your screen. And I believe this is what many students these days are doing. So if they do not know or want to learn about something, other than learning from the lecturers or the teachers directly, they may go to the internet and ask who is the most authoritative website that can explain the topic that I'm interested in. So if you ask in Indonesian, visualisasi algoritma, you will see the same result. The first link should be visualgo.net or visualgo.id, visualgo.net/id. So many of the visitors of this tool came from searches like this, and then the rest, 45% like that, the rest are from direct links. So like they are perhaps my students or those who already know the URL directly. Okay. So this is so this is Visualgo, right? So I will do it in front of you now. Okay. So I believe you can see my other screen. Yes. Okay. So if you Google, go to google.com or google.com/sg, if you search the keyword algorithm visualization, you will reach this page. And most of the students these days will click the first, maybe second, maybe the third, but not going to click down the 10th tab. Most likely you will click the first few and study from what Google says. Okay, so this is number one in Google today, right? Okay, so this is the analytics of visitation profile of this tool. It has a weekly study pattern. So every dip is Saturday and Sunday, and the peaks are mostly Thursday, Wednesday, and Friday. Okay, so this is a weekly study pattern. Right? And in the past 1 year, this tool has about 1 million visitors worldwide. Each people open about 2 pages, the home page and one target visualization page that they want to study on. And they stay about 2 minutes each, 2.5 minutes. And after that, they leave the page. This is the typical profile, right? 21% returns, the other came just one time, right? So this tool is built using modern web-based technology, modern as of the last few years. So this gives very small barrier of entry because everyone who have connection with the internet, I have done a search just now, about 70% Indonesians can access internet, especially on mobile phone. About 90% in Singapore can have access to internet, and globally it's about 55%. So the tool that I created, Visualgo, can be opened on smartphone like this. Right? Your student can study the tool, can use the tool as long as they have access to the internet. Right? They don't need to install any third-party software. So they just need to know the URL, which is visualgo.net, or even just need to Google the term that they need to study on, and then they click the first link, and that link is most likely my website. Okay. So this is built using various web technologies, recent web technologies. I don't want to go into details, but the key point is you do not need to install anything. It is useful on the go. Right? Okay. So what does this tool contains? This tool contains many popular data structures and algorithms. They are covered in computer science educations throughout the world. So the keyword many here is relative. Okay, some says 24 different modules is not many, but actually this is more than one. It's about 3 or 4 different modules in National University of Singapore combined together into one visualization tool. So the 24 boxes that you see in this page actually used by about 3 to 4 different modules in NUS from year 1, year 2 until year 3 and 4, or even year 5. Yeah. Okay. So because all of them are built using the same technology, all pages have the same look and feel. So, right. So if I open this sorting page, if I open this binary search tree page, graph data structure page, students will see similar look and feel. The visualization page here, the menu button on the left, the playback button. If you switch to another tool, another page, it looks the same. The visualization page here, the commands here, the playback button here, and so on. Right. So they have the same look and feel. Right. This the collections of data structure algorithms covers year one algorithm courses, typically covered in almost every university that has computer science degree, like sorting. Sorting is the most popular visualization module that I have in VisualGo. Also, it's because it's on the top left, the most frequently clicked tool page, right? But I also have the visualization and of data structure and algorithm that are quite rarely used in. It's only appear in high level algorithm courses, right? But yeah, let's just focus on the more popular one. Okay, so there is one important special feature that only applicable for talk like this, because the audience are Indonesians. Just now I heard from the previous question and answer, some of you does not understand English. So I realized that. Okay, I realized that. So there is an opportunity to switch from the English mode to Indonesian, right? Then almost every, not everything, almost every text that appears in this tool appears in Indonesian. Right? For example, later I'm going to focus on binary search tree or pohon biner terurut. If you see the menu, it all changed into Indonesian. If you see the lecture notes, let me make it bigger here. If you see lecture notes here, the wording here are all in Indonesian. Now, of course, some are mixed with English, but there are most of the sentences have been translated. Okay, so some of you who are who can only speak Indonesian at the moment, but does not know English, or your English is still at the elementary level, you may want to switch to Indonesian version. I have a Chinese version translated by my Chinese students in NUS. I planned to have Japanese version, the previous speaker, Imai Sensei, but unfortunately, I don't have that many Japanese students in NUS, so that project was closed. So otherwise, there will be one more row Japanese, right? But for now, we only have English, Chinese, and Indonesian. Right? Okay, so from the next few slides, I will leave the tool to say in Indonesian mode, when I continue speaking about the features that I have in this tool. Okay. And the next features that I have is many other visualization tools out there in the internet. They presented only one example. or maybe one static example. Whereas in Visual Algo, I allow the user, the student, the computer science students themselves to define their own input, right? Define their own input. So for example, I'm going to do a crash course on this tool, on this data structure called pohon biner terurut. Okay? I know many of you does not know computer science. Many of you are from other subjects. Many of you are teaching secondary SMP or SMA that have not heard about this before. So I want to see whether this tool is intuitive enough for me to explain what this thing is with only a few sentences, right? So without drawing on any whiteboard. So previously, traditionally, without tool like this, the lecturer or the professor, the university professor will have to go and draw on a whiteboard, like on a whiteboard, and draw all these pictures on the whiteboard or blackboard first. Whereas with this tool, I just need to click random, acak is random, right? And I have a random structure in front of me, right? So what is this? So pohon biner terurut is a collection of data. The way is a way to organize for this example, a way to organize integers, numbers, in such a way that the topmost contains a number. Here is 52, 52, and everything on the left is smaller than 52. Okay, so like if you can see, 52 is at the top. We call this the root. Everything on the left is smaller than 52. Okay, 17, 31, 24, and so on. Every single one of them are smaller than 52. And then everything on the right are larger, strictly larger. We are talking about distinct numbers first. Strictly larger than 52, like 70, 77, 90. All of these are bigger than 52. This structure appears throughout this picture. If you look down at 17, everything on the left is blank, is smaller than 17. Everything on the right of 17 is greater than 17, but also lesser than 52. Right? And then we look down at 31. Everything on the left of 31 is lesser than 31, like 24, but greater than 17. Everything on the right of 31 is greater than 31, but less than 52, like 41 and 32, like that. Okay, so this is called binary search tree, pohon biner terurut. Right? So if we organize our data this way, then we can search a number that you are looking for with just with a much faster way than searching everything. Right? For example, if I'm looking for number 83, and usually in my classes, I will ask audience, my students, to randomly ask me any number. Right? Then before I click lakukan, show this the animation, I will explain verbally first that the data structure will start from the root 52 because you are looking for 83, and we have organized the data in such a way that if 83 exists, it will be on the right side of this picture and never be on the left. Right? So if we know that, then the search will go to the right side and ignoring approximately, in this picture, approximately half of the rest of the numbers that will be lesser than 52. Right? Then when we go right, we will reach 70. And we'll repeat the same question. Are you 83? It is not. So we know that if 83 exists, it will be on the right of this picture, not on the left. Okay? There's nothing on the left, and so on. So if you repeat this, you will see this animation. So you start by, let me do it one by one. 83, are you greater than 52? Yes. So I search to the right. Membandingkan, compare 70 with 83. 83 is still greater than this, so it's on the right. 83 is greater than 77 on the right. 83 is lesser than 90, so go to the left, and so on. So, and we found it. Okay. So another example. So I want to search for something that does not exist. Right. So for example, I want to look for 42. Right. If I look for 42, it doesn't exist. Right? If we eyeball or just scan through all the numbers, we don't see 42, right? But with these data structures, you can see that we will ask 52 the root. I'm looking for 42. If it exists, it will be on the left of this because the root is not 42. Cannot be anything on the right. Right? And we repeat the same questions. 17. If 42 exists, it will be on the right. 31. If 42 exists, it will be on the right. 31. 41. If 42 exists, it will be on the right. But it does not. So at this point, we can conclude that 42 is not in this picture. Right? So what's the benefit of having this tool available to students 24/7? Anytime anytime they want to learn about this topic, they can go to this URL and just study. Okay? They can then ask anything. They can ask their own input. Suppose I want to know what is can I find 99 in this picture? What's the procedure? Right? So this tool will be able to explain what I have just explained without my presence, because this is my clone, my electronic clone. Right? Okay. So then students can continue learning all the other components like inserting a new numbers, removing existing numbers from this picture, and some other operations that they can do with this data structure, right? So, and then I will also have a few templates. You can start from empty tree, unbalanced tree, random tree, skew left and skew left and skew right test cases, and so on. And once they master this content, they can move on to this and learn more interesting data structure called AVL3, where you can do things like this, where you can insert numbers in sequence, right? And you can see that the tool will do self-rebalancing so that the eventual tree will never be that tall. Right? So this is more advanced than the basic form of pohon binatang root. Right? But students, they can learn this at their own pace, right? Independent learning at their own pace. So those who need to learn more can just click repeat this. Please re-explain to me what's happening. If it's too fast, make it slower. If it's still very fast, go frame by frame, so that this tool will replace a CS lecturer who has to be physically present in a classroom in traditional sense into you can learn anytime, anywhere, as long as you have internet, right? Okay. Then this tool facilitates independent learning from the students, and it forms the basis of flipped classrooms in my courses. So I flip the courses where the tool will do the first two of the Bloom taxonomy mentioned by the keynote speaker earlier in the morning. And I concentrate on applying and creating, comparing the higher level order thinking in my classes. Okay. All right. The next part I will show it briefly is I also have a second component of this tool called online quiz. So other than explaining the tool to students, I also have go back to the main page ID. I also have this called latihan. Right? When you click this, there are a bunch of randomly generated questions that are generated using formula, and all this every time you refresh this. So just now the first question is what's the maximum element in this BSD with three numbers 3, 25, 26. If I refresh this page, this URL, the first question changed to another question, and maybe that question appears again, but this time, what is the minimum element of a slightly different picture? Okay, so this is generated randomly to provide semi-infinite number of training questions to test students' basic understanding without my presence, because students can learn this at their own home, at their own class, at their own time, right? What's the minimum element? Between this number, it will be this, right? What's the sequence of vertices that are visited by search? Just now, I already explained it, right? You have to start from the root. If 4 is smaller than 96, you have to go to the left. So start from this, go to the left. And you found it. So this is the search steps, the sequence of vertices visited by search 4. Okay. Okay. What's the maximum element? I wrongly click. Okay. If the answer should be 83, I click 54. So there are 7 random questions like this, right? Question 3, I answer correctly. 4, I answer correctly. 5, I answer wrongly, right? Then I can choose to ask the grader to grade this instantly. So I get 2 correct because first question I didn't answer. The second question I didn't answer. The third and fourth I answered them correctly. The fifth one I answered it wrongly, right? So the correct answer is 83, right? And if student does not know what happened, why my answer 54 is wrong, then they can click this and see the same picture and search for the maximum, and the answer is 83. Okay. So this closes the learning loop where even if the student get wrong answers, the tool will kind of pinpoint them towards what should be the correct answer. Okay. This will be good for formative assessment for students to independently self-check their basic knowledge of data structure and algorithm. With a few tweaks, it can also be used for end of semester exam, but you will need to set a lower weightage for this. And for people considering to switch to adult learners switching to computer science for their technical interviews, they can do it. They can use this tool for technical interviews. Right. So there are a few other features that have been implemented, but I'm not going to discuss in details. Okay. Right. So I want to quickly mention how this tool has helped me transform computer science education in NUS School of Computing. So I treat this as an Iron Man tool, Iron Man suit for computer science lecturers here in NUS, and also a few other colleagues out there in the world who have asked me for permission to use this tool. So when you explain something to the in live audience, so suppose you explain to live audience how to find the maximum, and then you accidentally say go left and then say 34. Wrong, right? That's the minimum, not the maximum. Whereas if you do it with this tool, you will never be wrong because the tool is kind of bug-free at the moment. It will always give you the correct answer, right? So it prevents the teachers to say wrong things in the class because maybe they were asked to answer on the spot by their students. Pak dosen, Pak lecturer, what is the answer if I change the number into this? Then if under stress, maybe we can have a slip of tongue and say wrong things. Whereas if we ask the tool to do it in front of the live class, it will never be wrong, right? That's a main strength, one of the main strength. The second main strength is it's available 24/7, right? Instead of maybe 2 hours, 3 hours per week lecture time with the lecturers, it also helps us to scale up, right? School of computing have a lot of students, so we cannot teach them one by one, and we cannot answer every simple questions one by one. So with this tool, it has helped me reduce the number of questions into a more manageable level. Okay? And students can learn at their own pace. They can play, replay, pause, rewind, fast forwards, make it slower, make it faster, replay 1,000 times until they understand. Until they think they understand, right? And they will be tested with the online quiz system on the basic knowledge. Right? So this allows me to run a flipped classroom where the basic elements of the concepts will be taught by the machine, and then the higher order thinking, the one that I discussed in class. So this is a picture of Bloom taxonomy that the keynote speaker has mentioned in the morning, right? So I do not waste 2 hours of student time each week explaining them what is binary search tree, the one that you showed just now. What is this thing, right? I don't do that. I don't do that, and ask them to learn the first few slides of this in 2 hours of class. I don't. I force my students to self-learn this by themselves, right? So they will remember the name, they will remember the how to do search in the data structure, how to insert a new number to this data structure, and so on. They understand why it behaves that way. If they don't understand yet, the tool will keep repeating this explanation until they understand, right? So in class, I will then ask them to apply what they learn to solve from a simple problem first, live applications, and then ask them to analyze, ask them to evaluate the strategy A with strategy B and so on. Before later in the final exam, the hardest questions will be to design a new solution. Right? Okay, so this tool is an actively developed tool. Right, so I keep adding new feature visualization, enhancing the current one, and enhancing the speed of the site so that it can handle more load to catch, so that I can open it to more universities. So in conclusion, I have two takeaways. Right? So what I presented to you today may or may not be relevant to you. But what I want to, because not all of you are computer science educated. However, what I want to share is web-based education technology, or edtech, is getting more and more important these days, right? Because of the feature that they have, 24/7 availability and accessible to anyone with internet access. This is important, especially in the last 2.5 years of the COVID pandemic, where many classrooms, including in Singapore, have to be turned from face-to-face classes into online classes. You will need online tools to help you teach your student. Right? There are a lot of high-quality education technology tools out there for computer scientists, for computer science teachers. Visual Go is clearly one of them. But for others, like maths, physics, other subjects, there are other text tools out there that if you search for the correct one, you can integrate them for your classroom teaching. Right? This is a frequently asked question. Is this chargeable? No, it's free of charge. So anywhere in the world, if you want to learn about computer science, basic data structure and algorithms, you can go to visualgo.net and learn it by yourself. Right? However, there are a few features that are hidden, like the answers of certain exam style questions. I will let it only for CS lecturers or IT teachers worldwide, including some of the IT teachers attending this talk. So if you're interested, you can contact me. Right. All right. So that's all from my side. It's time for question and answer. Yeah. Thank you for listening. Yep.
So young and handsome.
Already white hair here.
That's it's interesting presentation. Yeah, he said that algorithm educational tool for learning computer science that is easily accessed and facilitates students for independent learning. And next, Mrs. Chitra will explain in Indonesia.
Baik, Bapak Ibu hadirin sekalian, izinkan saya untuk sedikit menerjemahkan, merangkum dari apa yang sudah Pak Stephen jelaskan tadi. Mr. Stephen tadi menjelaskan tentang Visual Go, yaitu visualisasi algoritma nomor 1. Visual Go ini merupakan salah satu alat atau media pembelajaran berbasis web. Seperti mungkin kita kenal ada quizzes dan lain sebagainya. Pak Stephen memperkenalkan ada peramban bernama Visual Go. Visualisasi algoritma ini digunakan untuk pembelajaran sains di Singapura. Nah, Visual Go ini memiliki beberapa fitur. Yang pertama, dia mudah diakses berbekal internet dengan kecepatan yang cukup, bisa mudah diakses oleh siapa saja. Lalu tidak perlu lagi menginstal atau mengunduh software, tidak lagi perlu menginstal aplikasi lain, cukup membuka dari Google Chrome saja. Di Visual Go sendiri Ini memfasilitasi peserta didik untuk belajar secara mandiri, juga untuk sebagai dasar menerapkan flip classroom, di mana peserta didik bisa mempelajari materi terlebih dahulu sebelum diajarkan atau diulas kembali di kelas. Visual Go saat ini masih merupakan produk yang belum selesai, masih terdapat beberapa improvement atau perbaikan nanti ke depannya. Saat ini Visual Go sudah tersedia dalam 3 bahasa, Indonesia, bahasa Inggris, dan juga Cina. Ya, demikian sedikit rangkuman dari penjelasan Pak Stephen tadi.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. Chitra. And next, any question for the presentation of Mr. Stephen? Can you raise hand? Raise hand, okay.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, everyone. Hi, Mr. Stephen. Nice to meet you here.
Yeah.
It is very interesting to listen your explanation about virtual Go. I have 2 questions about it. The first question is, the content in virtual Go, is it related to Indonesian curriculum? If yes, maybe we can use it to our classroom. If no, how we can apply it to all the students in Indonesia especially. Okay, and next question is, do you know that our students in Indonesia, most of them have weakness in science and math? Maybe some of you agree about that. So do you think that this is the best solution if you give virtual Go to apply in our classroom? Thank you, Mr. Stephen. Please give your explanation for that.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. Your name, please?
My name is Apri from
Apri.
Ananda Islamic School.
Afri. Thank you. And the second question for this session. Any question? The second question. Raise your hand. Just one question. Okay. Oh, yeah.
Okay, thank you for the time given to me. Firstly, my name is Dewi Novisa Huda from SMA Negeri 73 Jakarta. And my question is, firstly, I think that's a very interesting interactive media to help us learning about algorithm. And beside the computer science or algorithm, I think it is a really effective program for us to learn about critical thinking. My question is, however, is it possible to manage it, to teach it for the older or the younger audience? And which age do you think is highly efficient for us to teach it to our student? Thank you.
Thank you for the second question. Okay, Mr. Stephen, can you understand about the question? Please
Ya, saya bisa mengerti.
answer it.
Saya bisa mengerti bahasa Indonesia dan bahasa Inggris.
Okay.
Okay, but I will answer in English first. For the questions from the first questions about whether the content, how does it fit in Indonesian curriculum, and if it's yes, how to whether it's a fit to Indonesian curriculum. If it's no, where can it be applied? So the material that I mentioned just now is from university level courses, right? So, but I know that there are a lot of Olympiad science, and national science Olympiad, especially the informatics one. If any of your students are interested in joining Olympiad science berbasis informatika, they can use this tool for their self-learning. So even if the teachers maybe don't know deep enough about computer science, they can point their students to study more from tools like Visualgo. Right? So this is I repeat, this is basically a university level courses. I don't have major plan to downgrade the level to high school yet, but that links to the next questions by the second speaker. Is it possible to use this tool to teach younger audience? But I do use this tool to even teach my kids about the data structure that I mentioned just now, like a binary search tree. I actually show it to my kids, and they can appreciate what does it mean, how we organize data, organize numbers by splitting them smaller on the left, larger on the right, so that it makes it easier for you to search the number again in the future. Right. So we can start young if you want to, and because the tool is available 24/7 anytime. Even if they found it difficult for now, they can simply bookmark the URL for now. And once they have more understanding about maths and logic and have some interest in computing, they can start going back to this tool and learn more. Okay, then the second question of the first person who asked, do you know, you know that many in Indonesia have weakness in science or maths. Do you believe that education tool like yours can help? Right, for science and math, especially mathematics, I know there are a lot of equivalently good education tool out there, like brilliant.org. I like to use that tool also. We can also learn from Wolfram Alpha to help us compute some mathematical questions that online. Yeah, there are a few other education tools for other subjects that perhaps I'm not aware of. But if you spend some time searching in the internet to get the correct tool, it can help you teach better. Right? So there are other good education tools out there in the internet. I'm specializing in computer science, so I can only say more about computer science based tools. Yeah, that's my answer. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Stephen. How about the answer of Mr. Stephen? Satisfied. And next question. Next question. Oh. Next question. Yeah, Mr. Stephen. Okay, Mr. Stephen. Are you happy in Singapore?
Ya, saya bahagia di Singapura.
Why?
Yeah, and US treats me well. I got several teaching awards in Singapore, so I enjoy teaching and living in Singapore.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Stephen. And Mr. Stephen, can you help to conclude your presentation in Indonesian?
Oke.
Yeah.
Ya, ada banyak tool atau perangkat pengajaran berbasis online yang bisa dipakai untuk meningkatkan proses belajar mengajar kita sebagai edukator. Jadi kalau saya dari computer science, ilmu komputer, saya menggunakan tool seperti Visual Go untuk meningkatkan kualitas belajar komputer yang saya ajarkan di National University of Singapore. Tapi kalau Bapak Ibu mengajar subjek yang lain, kayak matematika, sains, saya percaya ada tools-tools online seperti Visual Go yang mungkin bisa dipakai untuk membantu pengajaran Bapak Ibu. So, carilah tool-tool tersebut di internet dan pakailah untuk meningkatkan kualitas pengajar Anda. Terima kasih.
Thank you, Mr. Stephen. And then for this event, Mrs. Chitra will explain for presentation of Imai Sensei and Stephen Sensei for some sentence, some little sentence.
Baik, dari kedua presentasi yang sudah disampaikan oleh pembicara kita hari ini, dapat disimpulkan bahwa kedua pembicara pertama menekankan pada pengembangan karakter atau pembangun karakter building, terutama dalam pembelajaran bahasa Jepang di JSF atau Japan Foundation. Pembelajaran untuk membangun karakter bagi peserta didik maupun bagi tenaga pendidik, kuncinya adalah dengan memberikan kesempatan seluas-luasnya bagi peserta didik maupun tenaga pendidik untuk bisa berkomunikasi, melatih kemampuan berkomunikasi mereka dan berkolaborasi untuk menggunakan bahasa itu sendiri. Lalu dari pembicara Pak Stephen tadi kita dapat simpulkan bahwa banyak perangkat pembelajaran berbasis web atau berbasis online yang sekarang tersedia. Salah satunya adalah Visual Go yang sedang dikembangkan Pak Stephen di Singapura. Perangkat ini memberikan berbagai kemudahan untuk peserta didik untuk lebih terlibat dalam pembelajaran independen atau pembelajaran mandiri, di mana mereka bisa mempelajari materi tersebut terlebih dahulu, berlatih soal maupun mengikuti pembelajaran secara live dengan guru mata pelajaran yang bersangkutan.
Okay, thank you very much. Make applause for Mr. Stephen in Singapore. Okay, I'd like to thank the speaker for the informative and interesting presentation and all the participants for the very active participant. Finally, give the applause for the speaker and for you all again. Applause. Okay, thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Diberitahukan kepada partisipan untuk bisa scan seperti ini untuk mendapatkan sertifikat. Kepada partisipan yang ada di sini, silakan barcode yang ada di sini di-scan untuk mendapatkan sertifikat pada hari ini. Ya, terima kasih kepada Bapak dan Ibu, adik-adik semua yang ada di sini. Hari ini kita sudah melaksanakan kegiatan webinar internasional Hari Pendidikan Nasional yang diselenggarakan oleh Dinas Pendidikan. Mungkin ada tambahan? Hah? Oke, kita diajak foto bersama. Kita diajak foto bersama dan nanti ini akan disiarkan kita bisa lihat di YouTube ya. Bagaimana caranya untuk kita bisa berfoto bersama, Pak? Naik atau di situ tetap? Oh, pembicara, ya, Imai Sensei, dozo, dozo. Oh, dua baris dulu ya, supaya tidak crowded. Silakan untuk speaker, dozo, Takase Sensei, dozo. Hai, Imai Sensei, dozo. Hai. Ya. Ya, kemudian untuk partisipan yang ada di barisan ya di stick Jakarta Jack TV juga nanti ada ya. Silakan